Relax, I'm a lawyer too. Cleaner saves millionaire in court. Rebecca Johnson nervously watched the businessman being torn apart in court while mechanically scrubbing the floor. Her hands trembled inside the yellow gloves as she saw Michael Pearson being shredded by the accusations from his ex-wife, who demanded half his fortune. That's when Victoria Hamilton, the ex-wife, presented documents claiming she had endured humiliation during their 15-year marriage. Michael's lawyer stuttered, clearly unprepared for the situation. "Your Honor, my client would never do such a thing," mumbled Dr. William Thompson, the lawyer Michael had hired. Victoria stood firm in the witness stand, wearing an impeccable black suit. Her blonde hair was tied in an elegant bun, and she spoke in a measured tone that sounded convincing. "For years, Michael humiliated me in front of his employees. He said I was just a decoration in his life," she declared, wiping tears that seemed genuine. The judge, Dr. Richard Blackwell, a man in his 60s with graying hair, appeared swayed by Victoria's words. Michael sat at the defense table, sweating, his eyes fixed on the floor. Rebecca knew that courthouse well. For the past 3 years, she had cleaned every corner of that place, listening to hundreds of cases. But she had never seen an injustice as glaring as this one. Michael Pearson was known throughout New York City as a fair employer. His tech company employed over 200 people, and everyone spoke highly of him. Rebecca had witnessed countless times how he treated his employees with respect, always asking about their families and offering help when someone was struggling. "He'd come home drunk and yell at me," Victoria continued. "Once he threw a vase against the wall because dinner wasn't to his liking." Dr. William Thompson tried to stand to object but stumbled over his words. Your Honor, this doesn't align with my client's character." "Sit down, counselor," the judge said impatiently. "You may continue." Rebecca gripped the broom handle tightly. She knew this was a lie. Michael had been a vegetarian for over 10 years, something she'd discovered while cleaning his office and seeing vegan restaurant menus scattered on his desk. A man who refused to consume any animal products would never be violent. Victoria pulled a tissue from her purse and dabbed her eyes again. "I kept photos of the bruises he gave me," she said, handing a few photographs to the judge. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers out." Now back to the story. Dr. Richard Blackwell examined the photos carefully. Rebecca caught glimpses of the images as the judge held them up to the light. They showed arms with bruises and a face with a black eye. "These photos are very compelling," the judge murmured. Michael raised his head for the first time since the trial began. "I never laid a finger on her, Your Honor." "This is a lie," he said, his voice choked. "My client is the victim of a setup." Dr. William Thompson tried to argue, but his voice lacked conviction. Victoria smiled faintly. She wore a navy blue silk blouse under her blazer, and her nails were impeccably painted red. Everything about her exuded sophistication and credibility. "Michael, you know I'm telling the truth," she said, staring directly at her ex-husband. "You've always been a controlling, violent man." Rebecca's stomach turned. All those years cleaning Michael's office, she had only ever seen kindness from him. She remembered when the daughter of one of the secretaries fell ill, and Michael personally paid for the private medical treatment. Victoria's lawyer, Dr. Charles Whitman, was a tall, elegant man in an impeccable grey suit. He stood to speak. "Your Honor, my client suffered for years at the hands of this man. She deserves fair compensation for all the pain she endured." "What compensation are you requesting?" asked the judge. 50% of Mr. Michael Pearson's assets, including the company, properties, and bank accounts," replied Dr. Whitman. Michael choked. "That's not fair. I built that company with my own hands, working 18 hours a day." "Silence," the judge barked. "You will speak only when addressed." Rebecca watched everything with a racing heart. She knew she had to do something, but she didn't know what. She was just a cleaner. Who would believe her? Victoria continued her testimony. "One night, Michael came home very upset because he had lost an important contract. He blamed me, saying I was a burden in his life," she said, her voice trembling. "That's when he pushed me against the wall, and I hit my head." "That's a lie," Michael shouted, abruptly standing up. "Mr. Pearson, one more outburst like that, and I'll hold you in contempt of court," the judge warned. Dr. William Thompson pulled Michael back into his seat. "Michael, please let me handle this," he whispered. But it was clear the lawyer was lost. His hands shook as he flipped through the papers, unable to form a coherent defense. Rebecca noticed something odd about the photos Victoria had submitted. When the judge passed them to the defense attorney, she got a clearer look. There was something familiar about those images, but she couldn't place it. "Dr. Thompson, do you have any questions for the witness?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor," Dr. Thompson replied, standing awkwardly. "Mrs. Hamilton, can you tell us the exact dates these incidents occurred?" Victoria checked a small notebook she pulled from her purse. "The first incident was on March 15th, 2022. The second was on May 23rd of the same year. And the worst one happened on September 10th. Rebecca stopped scrubbing the floor. She remembered those dates perfectly. On March 15th, 2022, Michael had traveled to Los Angeles for a tech conference. She remembered because she had cleaned his office that morning and saw the plane ticket on his desk. On May 23rd, Michael had stayed very late at the office preparing a presentation for international investors. Rebecca remembered because she had cleaned the building all night and saw the lights in his office still on at 5 in the morning. And on September 10th, Rebecca closed her eyes, trying to recall. That day, Michael had left early to visit his father in the hospital, who was recovering from surgery. "Dr. Thompson, any further questions?" the judge pressed. "No, Your Honor," the lawyer replied, clearly defeated. Victoria gave Dr. Whitman a discreet smile. Rebecca caught the exchange between them. Something wasn't right. The judge checked his watch. "We'll take a 15-minute recess before hearing the defense's witnesses." Michael staggered out of the courtroom. Dr. Thompson followed, trying to console him. Rebecca saw them in the hallway, where Michael leaned against the wall, his hands covering his face. "Doctor, I didn't do any of what she's saying," Michael said. "How can she lie like this?" "Michael, the evidence is very convincing. The photos, her testimony." Dr. Thompson shook his head, discouraged. "Maybe we should consider a settlement." "A settlement? Doctor, she's trying to steal everything I built." Rebecca approached slowly, pretending to clean the hallway. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Mr. Michael, may I speak with you?" Michael looked up, surprised. "You're the courthouse cleaner, aren't you?" "Yes, sir. My name is Rebecca Johnson. I've worked here for 3 years. Dr. William Thompson eyed her impatiently. "Miss, this isn't the time for personal requests. We're in a very delicate situation." "It's not a personal request," Rebecca insisted. "It's about the case. I think I can help." "How so?" Michael asked. "I've cleaned your company's building for 5 years. I know that on the dates your ex-wife mentioned, you weren't even in New York City." Dr. Thompson laughed nervously. "Miss, I appreciate your good intentions, but this wouldn't help at all. We have no way to prove where Michael was on those dates." "But I do," Rebecca said, pulling a small notebook from her pocket. "I write down everything I see during my work. I've always done this." Michael took the notebook curiously. Rebecca had noted not just cleaning times, but small details of what she observed. When lights stayed on late, when important meetings took place, when Michael traveled. "Look here," Rebecca said, pointing to a page. "March 15th, 2022. Mr. Michael's office empty. Ticket to Los Angeles on the desk. Tech conference." Michael's eyes widened. "You wrote this down?" "I always write everything down. It's a habit." Rebecca flipped a few more pages. "Here, May 23rd. Mr. Michael in the office until 5 a.m., preparing a presentation. Asked for coffee 3 times during the night." Dr. Thompson snatched the notebook from Michael's hands. "But this has no legal value. It's just a cleaner's notebook." Rebecca's heart sank. She knew the lawyer was right. No one would take her notes seriously. "Dr. Thompson, please," Michael begged. "She might be our only chance." "Michael, be realistic. Do you think a judge will believe a cleaner's notebook over his ex-wife's testimony and photos of abuse?" Rebecca lowered her head. Dr. Thompson was right. She was just an ordinary person without higher education working as a cleaner. Why would anyone believe her? I'll go back in and try to negotiate the best settlement possible, Dr. Thompson said. Maybe we can reduce it to 30% of the assets. No, Michael protested. I won't give her anything. She's lying. Michael, if you don't accept a settlement, you could lose much more than 50%. Rebecca watched the exchange with a heavy heart. She knew Michael was innocent, but had no power to help him. Back in the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Victoria had called 2 witnesses who confirmed seeing episodes of violence. The first witness was Jennifer Walker, who introduced herself as Victoria's best friend. I saw many times when Victoria came to my house with marks on her face, Jennifer declared. She always tried to hide them with makeup, but I could tell. And what did she say about those marks? Asked Dr. Charles Whitman. She said she'd fallen or bumped into something, but I knew it was Michael. Jennifer looked at Michael with disdain. He's a violent, controlling man. The second witness was Amanda Collins, a neighbor of the couple. I heard screams coming from their house many times, Amanda said. It was always at night when Michael came home from work. Victoria would scream for him to stop. Dr. Thompson stood to question the witnesses, but his questions were weak and unfocused. Mrs. Jennifer, can you specify the dates when you saw these marks on Victoria's face? I don't remember exactly, but it was always after she fought with Michael. And Mrs. Amanda, are you certain the shouting came from the couple's house? Absolutely certain. They were my neighbors for 10 years. Rebecca observed everything from the side of the courthouse, where she continued her cleaning work. Something wasn't right with those witnesses. Jennifer seemed too nervous, and Amanda avoided looking directly at Michael. The judge checked his papers. Dr. Thompson, would you like to call defense witnesses? Dr. William Thompson looked at Michael desperately. Your Honor, we request a brief recess to consult with our client. Granted. 15 minutes. In the hallway, Dr. Thompson got straight to the point. Michael, we have no witnesses. We can't challenge their evidence. My recommendation is to accept a 30% settlement. I can't accept that, Doctor, Michael said, frantic. This will destroy my company. 200 families depend on the jobs I provide. Then what do you suggest? Michael looked around and saw Rebecca cleaning a nearby window. Rebecca, could you come here, please? She approached timidly. Rebecca, you said you could help. How? I know those women who testified, she said quietly. Jennifer and Amanda. What do you mean? Dr. Thompson asked. I clean the building where Jennifer works. She's a secretary at a law firm, the same firm as Dr. Charles Whitman. Michael and Dr. Thompson exchanged glances. And Amanda? Amanda wasn't your neighbor. She lives in the same building as me on the east side of New York City. I see her every day. Dr. Thompson grew intrigued. How are you so sure? Because I help her carry groceries up the stairs. Our building's elevator has been broken for 2 years. Rebecca opened her notebook again. And I've written down every time I've seen her. She works as a cashier at a supermarket in my neighborhood. So she lied about being Michael and Victoria's neighbor? Exactly. And there's more. Yesterday morning, I saw Amanda talking to Jennifer outside Dr. Whitman's office. I thought it was strange because she'd never left our neighborhood before. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Dr. Thompson began to see a glimmer of hope. Rebecca, are you absolutely certain about everything you're saying? I am, Doctor. I can even show you where Amanda lives if needed. But Doctor, this still doesn't solve our problem, Michael said. How do we prove all this in court? I don't know, Dr. Thompson admitted. We'd need a very experienced lawyer to dismantle this scheme. Rebecca took a deep breath. It was now or never. Dr. Thompson, would you mind if I questioned the witnesses? Dr. Thompson nearly laughed. Rebecca, you're a very kind person, but that's not possible. You're not a lawyer. Rebecca looked at Michael, then at Dr. Thompson. Her hands trembled, but she knew she couldn't let this injustice happen. Actually, Doctor, I am. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Thompson and Michael stared at her as if she'd lost her mind. What do you mean, Rebecca? Michael asked. I graduated from law school 8 years ago. I worked as a lawyer for 3 years before becoming a cleaner. Dr. Thompson shook his head. That's impossible. If you were a lawyer, you wouldn't be working as a cleaner. Rebecca lowered her eyes. This was the most painful part of her story, the one she tried to forget every day. I worked at a big firm here in New York City. I specialized in corporate law. Her voice cracked. But there was one case that changed everything. What happened? Michael Pearson asked gently. I discovered my colleagues were forging documents to steal an elderly woman's inheritance. When I reported it, they spread lies about me. They said I was dishonest, that I'd stolen money from clients. Rebecca Johnson wiped her eyes with her shirt sleeve. They had so much power, so many connections. They tarnished my reputation so badly that no firm would hire me. I went 2 years without work in the field. And why did you become a cleaner? Dr. William Thompson asked, now more interested in her story. Because I needed to survive. My parents are elderly and depend on me. When I got this cleaning job, I thought it would be temporary, but she sighed. I ended up getting used to the simplicity. No betrayals, no lies, just honest work. Michael was visibly moved. Rebecca, do you still have your bar association license? I do. I never canceled it. She pulled the card from her pocket and showed it. It's valid until next year. Dr. William Thompson examined the document. Rebecca Johnson, bar number. My God, this is genuine. Why didn't you go back to practicing law? Michael asked. Because I was afraid. Afraid they'd come after me again. Rebecca looked at both men. But seeing what's happening to you, Mr. Pearson, I can't stay silent. Dr. William Thompson processed the information. Rebecca, if you're truly a lawyer, you could take over my defense of Michael, but I must warn you, this case is practically lost. I know, Doctor, but I also know the truth always wins in the end. Michael took Rebecca's hands. Rebecca, are you sure you want to do this? I don't want you in trouble because of me. Mr. Pearson, I've spent 3 years watching how you treat people. I saw how you helped Joanne when her son needed surgery. I saw how you promoted Carl when his wife lost her job. Rebecca smiled for the first time since the trial began. A man like that would never be violent with his own wife. Dr. William Thompson checked his watch. The recess is almost over. Rebecca, if you're doing this, it's now. I just need one thing, Rebecca said. I need to make some calls during the next break. I have contacts who might help. Back in the courtroom, Dr. William Thompson stood. Your Honor, I request permission for my colleague, Dr. Rebecca Johnson, to take over the defense of Mr. Michael Pearson. The judge looked at Rebecca in surprise. She was still wearing her blue cleaning uniform, yellow gloves in hand. Doctor, can you present your Bar Association license? Rebecca approached the judge's bench and handed over the document. Dr. Richard Blackwell examined it carefully. Everything appears to be in order. He looked at Rebecca again. But I must say it's unusual to see a lawyer dressed as a cleaner. Your Honor, I apologize for my attire, but the situation requires urgency, Rebecca replied firmly. Victoria and Dr. Charles Whitman whispered nervously. It was clear they hadn't expected this turn. Dr. Johnson, would you like to cross-examine the prosecution's witnesses? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. But first, I request a 30-minute recess to prepare my defense. Granted. In the hallway, Rebecca grabbed her phone. Her hands shook as she dialed the first number. Jack, it's Rebecca. Yes, I know it's been a while. Jack, I need a huge favor. Jack was an old college friend who now worked as a document examiner. Rebecca quickly explained the situation. Rebecca, are you sure those photos are fake? I am, Jack. I need you to come to the courthouse now and bring your equipment. But Rebecca, this could be dangerous for you. If these people are really behind a fraud, I know the risks, Jack, but I can't let an innocent man be convicted. The second call was to Christine, a former client who worked as a private investigator. Christine, it's me, Rebecca. I need you to do urgent research on 2 women. Rebecca gave the names of Jennifer and Amanda, asking Christine to verify their real addresses and possible connections to Dr. Charles Whitman's office. The third call was the hardest. It was to Dr. Jonathan Winters, the lawyer who had been her mentor before everything went wrong. "Jonathan, it's Rebecca." There was silence on the other end. "Rebecca? My God, where have you been all these years?" "It's a long story, Jonathan. I need your help. There's fraud happening at the New York City courthouse, and I'm the only one who can stop it." "Rebecca, are you sure you want to get involved in this? After what happened?" "Jonathan, an innocent man is about to lose everything. I can't just stand by." "Doctor," Jonathan sighed, "what do you need?" "I need your help with the legislation on document forgery, and if possible, come to the courthouse. I'm afraid to face this alone. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When Rebecca returned to the courthouse, Jack was already there with a case full of equipment. Christine had emailed a detailed report with information about Jennifer and Amanda. Dr. Jonathan Winters entered the courthouse just minutes before the recess ended. He was a distinguished man with graying hair and an elegant demeanor. When he saw Rebecca, his eyes filled with tears. "Rebecca, how are you?" "I'm fine, Jonathan. Thank you for coming. I never should have let you leave the firm back then. I knew you were right about that case. The past is past, Jonathan. Now we need to focus on the present." Dr. Richard Blackwell banged the gavel. "Ms. Johnson, you may proceed." Rebecca stood, feeling every eye in the courtroom on her. It was strange to be there as a lawyer again, especially dressed as a cleaner. "Your Honor, I'd like to recall the witness Amanda Collins." Amanda returned to the stand, visibly nervous. "Ms. Collins, you previously confirmed you were the couple's neighbor for 10 years, correct?" "Yes, I was their neighbor." "And can you tell us the address where you lived during that time?" Amanda hesitated. It was on Flower Street, number 250. Rebecca checked Christine's report. "Bailiff, I request this address be verified in the system." The bailiff typed into the computer and checked the records. "Ma'am, there is no Flower Street, number 250 in New York City." A murmur spread through the courtroom. Amanda turned pale. "I must have gotten confused. Ms. Collins, can you provide your current address?" "Professor Lane, 123, apartment 15. "Perfect. That address is on the east side of New York City in Queens, correct?" "Yes. And the distance between Queens and the Upper East Side, where Mr. Michael Pearson and Ms. Victoria Hamilton lived, is about 30 miles. Isn't that right?" Amanda didn't answer. "Ms. Collins, how could you hear screams from a house 30 miles away from your home?" Dr. Charles Whitman stood. "Objection, Your Honor. The defense is confusing the witness." "Overruled. The witness may answer." Amanda was sweating. Maybe I mixed up the addresses." "Or maybe you're lying about being the couple's neighbor," Rebecca pressed. "Objection," Dr. Charles shouted. "Sustained." "Dr. Rebecca, rephrase your question." "Mrs. Amanda, do you work as a cashier at St. John's Supermarket, located on Freedom Avenue in the Queens neighborhood?" "How do you know that?" "Just answer yes or no." "Yes." "And yesterday morning, did you meet with the witness Jennifer Walker at the door of Dr. Charles Whitman's office?" Amanda looked desperately at Dr. Whitman, who was tense in his chair. I don't remember." Rebecca turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I'd like to call a witness." "Who would you like to call?" "Myself, as an eyewitness to the meeting between Amanda Collins and Jennifer Walker." Dr. Whitman stood up angrily. "Your Honor, this is irregular. The doctor cannot be both a witness and an attorney at the same time." Dr. Jonathan Winters spoke up. "Your Honor, I request permission to temporarily take over the defense while my colleague gives her testimony." Granted. Rebecca took the witness stand. It was a strange feeling to be on the other side. "Dr. Rebecca, can you describe what you saw yesterday morning?" "Yes. Around 7 in the morning, I was leaving for work when I saw Amanda Collins talking to a blonde woman at the door of a commercial building. I thought it was odd because Amanda had never left our neighborhood before." "And can you identify the building?" "Yes. It was the building where Whitman and Associates operates." Dr. Whitman was visibly shaken. "How can you be sure it was Amanda Collins?" "Because I've known her for 5 years. We live in the same building, in the apartment next door. I greet her every day." "And the blonde woman?" "Later, I found out it was Jennifer Walker when she came to testify today." Dr. Winters resumed the defense. I'd like to call Jennifer Walker again. Jennifer returned to the witness stand, clearly nervous. Mrs. Jennifer, do you confirm that you work as a secretary at Whitman and Associates? Yes, I work there. For how long? 5 years. And how long have you known Dr. Charles Whitman? Since I started working there. Mrs. Jennifer, did you meet with Amanda Collins yesterday morning? Jennifer looked at Dr. Whitman, who subtly shook his head. No, I've never seen that woman before today. Rebecca stood up. Your Honor, I request permission to present evidence. What evidence, Doctor? Rebecca took out her cell phone. A photograph I took yesterday morning. In the photo, you can clearly see Jennifer and Amanda talking at the building's entrance. The image was taken at 7:15 a.m., according to the phone's timestamp. An absolute silence fell over the courthouse. Jennifer turned pale. Your Honor, this is a fake, she stammered. Jack, the document expert, stood up. Excuse me, Your Honor. I'm an image analysis specialist. I can confirm this photograph is authentic and unaltered. Dr. Whitman was desperate. Your Honor, my client was just asking for directions. Dr. Whitman, you confirmed Jennifer Walker has worked at your office for 5 years. Why would she need to ask for directions to her own workplace? Dr. Whitman had no answer. Rebecca pressed on. Your Honor, I'd now like to question the photographs presented as evidence of assault. Jack opened his briefcase and took out analysis equipment. With the court's permission, I'll examine the images submitted by the prosecution. After 15 minutes of detailed analysis, Jack presented his findings. Your Honor, these photographs have been digitally altered. The bruises were added later using image editing software. Victoria stood up abruptly. That's a lie. These men are being paid to make up these stories. Mrs. Hamilton, please take a seat, ordered the judge. I can prove these photos are fake another way, said Rebecca. She walked to the table where the photographs were and examined them carefully. Your Honor, these photos show bruises in shades of purple and yellow, indicating injuries several weeks into healing, correct? Yes, confirmed Victoria, but you claimed one of the assaults occurred on September 10th, 2022. I have proof that on that date, Mr. Pearson was at Mercy Hospital visiting his father. Rebecca handed the judge a statement signed by the hospital administration. This document confirms that Michael Pearson was at the hospital from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on September 10th, accompanying his father during surgery. Furthermore, Jack added, the metadata analysis reveals these photos were taken last week, not 2 years ago as alleged. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Victoria looked visibly desperate, and Dr. Whitman scrambled to organize his papers for a way out. Your Honor, Rebecca said, I request an investigation into the financial relationship between the witnesses and the prosecution's law firm. Teresa, the private investigator, stood up at the back of the courtroom. Excuse me, Your Honor. I have relevant information about this case. And who are you? Teresa Fields, private investigator. At the defense's request, I looked into witnesses Jennifer Walker and Amanda Collins. What did you find? I discovered both received deposits of $5,000 into their bank accounts last week. The payments came from a corporate account belonging to Whitman and Associates. Dr. Whitman jumped to his feet in panic. Your Honor, those deposits were payments for consulting services. What kind of consulting would a law firm need from a supermarket cashier and their own secretary? Rebecca challenged. The judge looked visibly angry. Dr. Whitman, these are serious allegations. Do you have a plausible explanation? Dr. Whitman was sweating. He glanced at Victoria, who had her face in her hands. Your Honor, I request a recess to consult with my client. Denied. You will answer now. That was when Victoria broke. Stop, just stop, she shouted, standing abruptly. I can't take this anymore. Mrs. Hamilton, sit down immediately, the judge commanded. No, I have to speak. Victoria was sobbing uncontrollably. It's all a lie. I made it all up. The courtroom fell dead silent. Even Dr. Whitman seemed stunned. Mrs. Hamilton, are you certain of what you're saying? Yes, I lied about everything. Michael never hurt me. He was always a good husband. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now, back to the story. Michael stood there stunned. Tears streamed down his face. Victoria, why? Why would you do this? Victoria looked at her ex-husband with shame. Because I'm in debt, Michael. Deep in debt. After the divorce, I lost control. I spent everything I had and more. But you could have asked me for help, Michael said. You know I'd never let you suffer. I was too proud to ask. Victoria wiped her eyes. And when Dr. Whitman told me I could get half of your assets, Mrs. Hamilton, the judge interrupted, are you confessing to perjury and attempted fraud? Yes, Your Honor. I confess to everything. Dr. Whitman tried to regain control. Your Honor, my client is clearly in an emotionally distressed state. Dr. Whitman, the judge said firmly, were you aware the evidence presented was falsified? Charles remained silent. Answer the question, insisted the judge. I suspected some elements might have been exaggerated. Is this a confession that you knowingly participated in an attempt at procedural fraud? Dr. Whitman realized he was cornered. Your Honor, I request the right to remain silent. Bailiff, arrange for representatives from the district attorney's office. This case will be referred for criminal investigation. Rebecca felt a mix of relief and sadness. Justice had been served, but seeing Victoria destroyed like that gave her no satisfaction. Victoria, she said gently, approaching her, why didn't you seek help sooner? There are always other options. I didn't know what to do, Victoria sobbed. The debts were too high, and the loan sharks were threatening me. Michael stood and walked over to Victoria. Victoria, even after all this, I still care about you. You were my wife for 15 years. Michael, I'm so sorry, I truly am. I'll help you pay off your debts, Michael said, but on one condition, you must seek psychological help. Victoria looked at him in disbelief. You still want to help me? After what I did? I don't want revenge, Victoria, I just want you to be okay. The judge watched the scene with interest. Mr. Pearson, are you certain you wish to help the person who tried to destroy you? Yes, Your Honor. Victoria is ill. Sick people need treatment, not punishment. Dr. Richard Blackwell was visibly moved. In 40 years of practice, I've rarely seen such generosity of spirit. He turned to Rebecca. And Dr. Johnson, if I may say so, that was one of the most brilliant legal performances I've ever witnessed. Rebecca blushed. Thank you, Your Honor, but I only did my job. No, Doctor, you did far more than that. You uncovered the truth when everyone else had given up. The trial was officially concluded with the dismissal of all charges against Michael. Dr. Whitman's license was temporarily suspended pending investigation. Jennifer and Amanda would be questioned about their involvement in the fraud. In the courthouse hallway, Michael hugged Rebecca tightly. Rebecca, how can I ever thank you for what you've done for me? No need to thank me, Mr. Pearson. The truth must always prevail. Rebecca, I'd like to make you an offer. Come work as the head lawyer for my company. Rebecca shook her head. Thank you, but I can't accept. Why? Because I've realized I'm happy as a cleaner, she smiled. Cleaning lets me help people in a simple, direct way. As a lawyer, I get caught up in conflicts and lies. Dr. Jonathan Winters approached. Rebecca, you can't waste your talent mopping floors. Jonathan, it's not a waste if it makes me happy. Michael thought for a moment. What if you did both? How so? Keep cleaning if it makes you happy, but also be my legal consultant, only for special cases when innocent people need help. Rebecca considered the offer. I could do that, but on one condition. What? I want to create a fund to help humble people who can't afford a lawyer. Consider it done, Michael said with a smile. 3 months later, Rebecca had become something of a legend at the New York City courthouse. The story of the cleaner who saved a millionaire businessman had spread across the city. Her small office, located in a modest building in downtown New York City, was always full of people seeking help. Rebecca provided free services 3 days a week, and on the other 2 she continued working as a cleaner. Dr. Rebecca, said Mrs. Rose, a 70-year-old woman who had sought help to resolve an inheritance issue, you're an angel. Mrs. Rose, I'm just someone who learned that everyone deserves justice, no matter how much money they have. Michael kept his word and created the Rebecca Johnson Foundation for Social Justice, which funded not only Rebecca's work, but also other lawyers willing to work pro bono for those in need. Victoria had recovered after 6 months of psychological treatment. She returned to teaching, her profession before marriage, and was paying off her debts with Michael's help. Once a month, she visited Rebecca's office to talk and express her gratitude. "Rebecca, I still don't understand why you helped me after everything I tried to do," Victoria said during one of these visits. "Victoria, I've learned that when someone does something bad, it's usually because they're suffering. You weren't evil, you were desperate. But I almost ruined Michael's life." "Almost, but you didn't, and now you have the chance to rebuild your own life the right way." Charles Whitman had lost his license permanently and was serving time for procedural fraud. Jennifer and Amanda received lighter sentences and community service. A year after the trial, Rebecca was cleaning the courthouse windows when Dr. Richard Blackwell approached her. "Dr. Rebecca, may I speak with you?" "Of course, doctor. How can I help you?" "I'd like to offer you the position of state public defender." Rebecca stopped cleaning the window. "Doctor, that's a great honor, but you'd rather keep being both a janitor and a lawyer." "Exactly," Dr. Blackwell smiled. "You know, Rebecca, you've taught me something important this past year." "What's that, doctor?" "That true justice doesn't come from fancy titles or luxurious offices. It comes from people who genuinely care about others." "You always knew that, doctor. You just needed someone to remind you." "Will you keep cleaning this courthouse?" "Yes. This is where it all started for me. It's my way of remembering where I came from." On the eve of the trial's 2nd anniversary, Rebecca was organizing her small office when Michael appeared. "Rebecca, I have a surprise for you." "What is it, Mr. Pearson?" "The Rebecca Johnson Foundation has helped over 500 families in these 2 years. You've saved so many lives." "We saved them, Mr. Pearson. I couldn't have done it alone." "And there's more." The story reached other companies. 15 business owners in New York City want to create similar funds in their cities. Rebecca was moved. That means the janitor lawyer of New York City started a national movement for social justice. Tears streamed down Rebecca's face. "I never imagined something like this could happen. Rebecca, you proved that an ordinary person can change the world. You don't need wealth or power to make a difference." "Mr. Pearson, can I confess something?" "Of course. In the first months after the trial, I still had nightmares about my past. I was afraid it would come back to haunt me. And now I know I made the right choice. When you do good, good comes back to you." Michael smiled. "You know what? My company grew 40% these past 2 years. How so?" "People want to work for a company that cares about social justice, and clients prefer doing business with us because they know we're ethical. So everyone won in the end." "Exactly, including Victoria. She got promoted at her school and is marrying the math teacher." "She deserves to be happy," Rebecca said sincerely. "And you, Rebecca? When will you find someone to be happy with?" Rebecca blushed. "I'm already happy, Mr. Michael. I have my work, my parents are doing well, and every day I get to help someone." "But don't you want to start a family?" "Maybe someday. For now, my family is all the people I assist here at the office." That night, Rebecca returned to her modest apartment in Queens. Her parents, Mrs. Dorothy and Mr. Harold, both 75, were watching television. "How was your day, dear?" asked Mrs. Dorothy. "It was good, Mum. I helped 3 families today." "Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you," said Mr. Harold, his eyes glistening. "Dad, you've always been proud of me, even when I was just a janitor. Because pride doesn't come from your job, honey. It comes from your character." "Rebecca," Mrs. Dorothy said, "your old English teacher called today." "Professor Robert? What did he want?" "He said he wants to write a book about your story. He thinks it could inspire others." Rebecca laughed. "Mom, who would want to read a book about a janitor?" "Sweetheart, you're not just a janitor. You're a woman who never gave up fighting for justice." The next morning, Rebecca was cleaning the courthouse when she found a letter under the door of her small office. It was from a young lawyer in Boston. "Dear Ms. Johnson, My name is Stephanie Brown. I read about your story in the papers. I wanted to tell you that you inspired me to start a similar project here in Massachusetts. We've already secured a donation from a local businessman and are helping families in need for free. Thank you for showing us that change is possible." Rebecca smiled and tucked the letter away carefully. It was the 15th such letter she'd received that month. Dr. Jonathan Winters stopped by her office at lunchtime. "Rebecca, I have a proposal for you." "Another one?" She chuckled. "Columbia University wants you to give a talk to their law students." "Jonathan, I'm no public speaker." "Rebecca, you spoke in court in front of dozens of people. That was different. It was life or death. And this isn't. These young lawyers need to learn that the law isn't just about making money. It's about serving society." Rebecca thought for a moment. "All right, but on one condition." "Name it." "I want half the students who attend to commit to at least 10 hours of volunteer work per month. Consider it done." A week later, Rebecca stood in the lecture hall at Columbia Law School, facing 200 students. She wore a simple navy blue dress but still carried her yellow janitor gloves in her hands. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Rebecca Johnson, and I'm a janitor." A murmur spread through the room. "I'm also a lawyer, but I prefer to introduce myself as a janitor because that's where I learned life's most important lessons." She shared her story from the beginning, from working at a prestigious firm to the day everything changed in court. "What I want you to understand is that a law degree doesn't make you a better person. What matters is how you use the knowledge you've gained." A student raised her hand. "Ms. Johnson, but how can we help those in need if we have to earn a living?" "Great question. I'm not saying you should work for free all the time, but dedicate a few hours a month to those who can't pay. You'll see that experience will make you better lawyers." Another student asked, "Don't you regret leaving a high-profile firm to be a janitor?" "Never. Because as a janitor, I met real people. At the firm, I only knew other wealthy lawyers. As a janitor, I met people fighting every day to survive with dignity." After the talk, 60 students signed up to volunteer at Rebecca's office. She had to create a rotation system to be able to guide everyone. 2 years later, these students had already helped over 200 families. Many of them continued doing volunteer work even after graduating and being employed at large firms. "Dr. Rebecca," said Rachel King, one of the former students who now worked at a major firm, "I want to thank you for changing my life." "What do you mean, Rachel?" "Before I met you, I only thought about making money. Now I know my work has a greater purpose." "And are you able to balance your work at the firm with volunteering?" "I managed to convince my boss to create a free legal assistance program. Now our firm dedicates 20% of our time to social cases." This conversation gave Rebecca a new idea. If one firm had created a social program, why couldn't others do the same? She began visiting the major firms in New York City, proposing the creation of social responsibility programs. At first, she faced resistance. "Dr. Rebecca," said Dr. Gregory Wilson, a partner at one of the largest firms in the city, "our clients pay high fees precisely because we don't serve just anyone." "Dr. Gregory, I'm not asking you to take on just anyone in place of your wealthy clients. I'm suggesting you dedicate a few hours a week to helping those in need. And what would the benefit be for us? Besides helping society, you'd have an excellent marketing tool. Companies today value socially responsible suppliers." Dr. Gregory considered the proposal. How would it work in practice? Each lawyer at the firm would dedicate 2 hours a week to social cases. It wouldn't interfere with paying clients, but it would show you care about the community. 6 months later, Dr. Gregory's firm had implemented the program and was assisting 50 underprivileged families a month. The results were so positive that other firms began seeking Rebecca out to implement similar programs. "Rebecca," said Michael during one of his monthly visits, "you've become a legal social responsibility consultant. I never imagined this would happen. And the best part is, it's working. 15 firms are already participating in the program. What makes me happiest is seeing how the lawyers are changing. They're discovering that helping those in need makes them feel more fulfilled professionally. You've created a quiet revolution in the legal world. It wasn't just me, Mr. Michael. It was everyone who believed in the idea. That weekend, Rebecca was cleaning her apartment when the phone rang. It was an international call. "Dr. Rebecca, this is Elizabeth Garcia from Chicago." "Hello, Elizabeth, how can I help you? I read about your work in an Argentine newspaper. We want to implement a similar program here. Could you help us?" Rebecca nearly dropped the phone. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. We already have 5 business owners interested in funding the project. But I don't speak Spanish." "That's no problem. We can arrange translators. The important thing is learning how your system works." A month later, Rebecca was in Chicago, giving lectures and helping structure the first free legal assistance program based on the Brazilian model. "Dr. Rebecca," said Dr. Daniel Brooks, one of the Argentine lawyers, "you have no idea the impact you're making here." "What impact?" "Young lawyers are discovering they can use their profession to do good. Many had become disillusioned with the law, thinking it was just a way to get rich. And now? Now they have hope that they can make a difference in society." When she returned to the US, Rebecca found a surprise waiting in her office. There was a line of 50 people waiting to be seen. "What happened?" she asked Stephanie, one of the volunteer students. "Doctor, the television did a story about you. Since then, we haven't stopped getting people asking for help." Rebecca realized she needed to expand the project. With Michael's help, they rented a bigger building and hired more volunteer lawyers. "Rebecca," said Dr. Jonathan during the inauguration of the new office, "you've achieved in 5 years what I dreamed of doing my entire career. Jonathan, you've always been my role model. Everything I learned came from you." "No, Rebecca. You went beyond what I taught. You discovered that real justice happens on the streets, not in the courthouse." "How so?" "In the courthouse, we resolve conflicts. On the streets, we prevent them from happening in the first place." Dr. Jonathan was right. Rebecca's new model didn't just focus on lawsuits, but also on legal education, conflict mediation, and preventive guidance. "Dr. Rebecca," said Mrs. Margaret, one of the clients, "before I met you, I thought justice was only for the rich. And now, Mrs. Margaret, now I know there are good people who care about folks like me." Those words deeply moved Rebecca. That was exactly what she wanted to achieve, to restore ordinary people's faith in justice. On the 5th anniversary of the trial that changed her life, Rebecca was cleaning the courthouse windows when Dr. Richard Blackwell approached her. "Dr. Rebecca, still cleaning windows?" "Always, doctor. It's my therapy." "You know you've become a national symbol." "How so?" "Your story is being told in schools across the country. You've inspired a whole generation of young people to see the law differently. I hope they learn that no matter what profession you choose, what matters is using it to help others." "Rebecca, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course, doctor." "Have you ever thought about running for political office?" Rebecca laughed. "Doctor, politics isn't for me. I'd rather work directly with people. But imagine the good you could do if you had the power to create laws." "Doctor, I've learned that real change doesn't come from laws. It comes from people willing to do what's right no matter what the law says." "You have a point. Besides, if I became a politician, who would clean the courthouse windows?" She chuckled. Dr. Richard Blackwell laughed too. "Rebecca, you're one of a kind. Never change." That afternoon, Rebecca was organizing case files when she found a forgotten folder. It was the case file from Victoria's lawsuit against Michael. She opened it and read through the documents again. It felt like a lifetime ago. So much had changed since then. Victoria was now the principal of the school where she worked and had been married for 2 years. Michael had become one of the most respected businessmen in the country, not for his wealth, but for how he used it to help others. Dr. Charles Whitman had served his sentence and now worked as a professional ethics consultant, helping other lawyers avoid the same mistakes he made. "Dr. Rebecca," a voice said behind her. It was Victoria, who had just walked into the office. "Victoria, what a surprise. I hope you don't mind the visit." "Not at all. Please sit down. How are you?" "I'm good. Really good, actually." Victoria smiled. "I came to thank you." "Thank me?" "Rebecca, that day in court was the worst and the best day of my life." "How so?" "It was the worst because I realized what a terrible person I'd become. But it was the best because that's when I truly started to change. Victoria, you weren't a terrible person. You were desperate. Rebecca, can I confess something? Of course. For years, I envied you. Envied me. Why? Because even while cleaning floors, you had a dignity I never possessed. You did your work with pride, without shame. Victoria, let me finish. When I saw you in that courthouse defending Michael with such determination, I understood that true nobility doesn't come from money or social status. It comes from character. Tears streamed down Victoria's face. Rebecca, you saved me from myself. Victoria, you saved yourself. I only showed you the way. I want you to know I use your story to inspire my students. I tell them about a woman I met who chose to clean floors rather than do something dishonest. And what do they think? At first they're surprised, but then they understand that work dignifies the person, not the other way around. That's true. Rebecca, I have a proposal for you. What is it? I want you to come speak at my school. My students need to hear your story. Victoria, I don't know if I'm the right person. You're exactly the right person. You've proven it's possible to succeed in life without stepping on others. A week later, Rebecca stood before 300 teenagers at Professor Anthony Charles Public School. My name is Rebecca Johnson and I'm a janitor, she said, holding up her yellow gloves. The teenagers laughed, thinking it was a joke. I'm also a lawyer, but I prefer to introduce myself as a janitor because it was by cleaning floors that I learned life's most important lessons. The laughter stopped. The students realized she was serious. How many of you think cleaning floors is work for ignorant people? Several hands went up. I used to think so too, until I discovered there's no such thing as shameful work. Only people who don't value their own work. A student raised her hand. Miss, but if you're a lawyer, why do you still clean floors? Because cleaning floors reminds me of who I am. It reminds me I'm no better than anyone else just because I have a degree. But don't you want to be rich? I am rich. Rich in friends, rich in experiences, rich in purpose. A boy asked, Miss, what advice would you give us? Don't be ashamed to work. Any honest job is worthy. And never think you're better than others because of the job you have. And if we want to be lawyers like you, then be lawyers who care about people, not just money. After the talk, 15 students approached Rebecca, saying they wanted to study law to help those in need. Miss Rebecca, said Jason, a 17-year-old student, you changed my life. How so, Jason? I used to be ashamed because my mom's a janitor. Now I'm proud of her. Your mother deserves your pride, Jason. She's raising you through honest work. I'll tell her I met a lawyer who's also a janitor, and proud of it. Those words moved Rebecca deeply. This was what she wanted, to show people that all honest work has value. On her way home, Rebecca stopped at the courthouse for her daily cleaning. It was Saturday afternoon, and the building was empty. As she wiped the windows, she reflected on everything that had happened over the past 5 years. From a silent janitor who cleaned the courthouse, she had become a national voice for social justice. God, she said aloud, thank you for giving me the courage to raise my hand that day. She finished the windows and left. The next day would be Monday, and she had 3 more families to assist at her office. On the bus home, Rebecca picked up a newspaper left on the seat. The front page featured a story about corruption in major law firms. She shook her head sadly. There was still so much work to do to change the image of law in the US. One day at a time, she whispered to herself. One person at a time. When she got home, her parents were watching TV. How was school, dear? Asked Mrs. Dorothy. It was great, Mom. I spoke to 300 young people. And did they like it? I think so. Some said they want to study law. That makes me proud, said Mr. Harold. My daughter inspiring young minds. Dad, we can all inspire someone. We just have to do our work with dignity. Rebecca, said Mrs. Dorothy, don't you get tired from so much work? No, Mom. When we do what we love, it's not work. It's a calling. And do you think your calling is fulfilled? Rebecca laughed. Mom, a calling is never fully fulfilled. There are always more people who need help. But don't you want to rest a little? Maybe travel? See other countries? Mom, I've already been to Argentina, and you know what I discovered. What? That the problems are the same everywhere. Ordinary people needing help, and lawyers who only care about money. So you'll keep working forever? As long as God gives me strength and health. That night, Rebecca lay in her simple bed, thinking about everything that had happened. She remembered the day she uncovered the fraud at the law firm where she worked. Back then, she thought her life was over. Now she realized that had been the beginning of her true life. If she hadn't gone through that hardship, she never would have become a cleaner. And if she hadn't become a cleaner, she would never have been at the courthouse the day Michael needed help. Funny thing, this thing called destiny, she thought. On Monday morning, Rebecca was cleaning the courthouse when she ran into Dr. William Thompson, the lawyer who had defended Michael at first. Attorney Rebecca, what a coincidence. Dr. Thompson, how are you? I'm well. Actually, I wanted to thank you for that day. Thank me? Yes, you taught me a lesson I carry with me to this day. What lesson? That being a lawyer isn't about winning cases, it's about seeking the truth. Doctor, you always knew that. Maybe I did, but I'd forgotten. You reminded me. And how are things at your firm? Completely changed. Now I only take cases I believe in, and I dedicate 20% of my time to pro bono work. That's wonderful, Doctor. Rebecca, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret giving up a lucrative career? Doctor, I didn't give up anything. I gained a life with purpose. You're right. Besides, who says I'm not profitable? She laughed. My profit isn't money. It's the lives I help change. Dr. William Thompson smiled. Rebecca, you're an inspiration to all of us. Doctor, we can all be an inspiration. We just have to choose to do good. That afternoon, Rebecca was helping an 80-year-old woman who had been tricked by a health insurance salesman. Attorney Rebecca, said Mrs. Eunice, that man convinced me to sign a contract I didn't understand. Mrs. Eunice, do you remember what he told you? He said it was a better, cheaper plan, but now I'm paying double and can't even use it. Rebecca examined the contract. Mrs. Eunice, this contract has several predatory clauses. We'll cancel it and recover the money you've already paid. Is that possible? Of course it is. You have rights, and we'll make sure they're enforced. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Eunice had gotten all her money back and returned to her old plan. Attorney Rebecca, how can I thank you? Mrs. Eunice, no need to thank me, but can I ask a favor? Of course. Tell your friends about their rights. Many people your age get tricked because they don't know they can stand up for themselves. I'll tell them, and I'll give them your number. That was Rebecca's approach. Solve the individual problem, but also educate to prevent future ones. At the end of that year, Rebecca took stock of her 5 years as a janitor lawyer. She had provided free legal assistance to over 1,000 families. Inspired by her work, 15 similar programs had been created in different states. But what made her proudest were the small changes she saw every day. Young lawyers choosing to work for social justice, business owners creating corporate responsibility programs, ordinary people discovering they had rights. Mr. Pearson, she said during one of their monthly meetings, sometimes I think I'm dreaming. Why? Because I never imagined a janitor could make such an impact. Rebecca, stop underestimating yourself. You made an impact because of your character, not because you're a janitor or a lawyer. Maybe so. Rebecca, can I make an observation? Of course. You haven't just changed the lives of the people you help. You've changed how society views the legal profession. How so? Before, people saw lawyers as only caring about money. Now, thanks to your example, many attorneys are dedicating themselves to social work. That makes me very happy. And there's more. You've proven it's possible to succeed professionally without abandoning human values. Mr. Pearson, can I confess something? Of course. Sometimes I'm afraid this is just a phase, that people will grow tired and go back to how things were. Rebecca, real change isn't a phase. You've planted seeds that will grow for generations. I hope you're right. I'm absolutely certain. Michael was right. 2 years later, a national survey showed the number of lawyers doing volunteer work had increased by 300%. Rebecca had sparked a cultural shift in the American legal profession. "Dr. Johnson," said Professor Nancy, coordinator of Columbia Law School, "your former volunteer students are changing the legal field." "How so, Professor?" "They're bringing the mindset of social responsibility they learned here to the firms where they work." "That's wonderful. That's exactly what I hoped for. Rebecca, you've created a generation of socially conscious lawyers." "Professor, I just showed them it was possible. They did the hard work. You're too modest." "Professor, if I thought too highly of myself, I'd lose touch with the ordinary people I serve. And that humility is exactly what makes you so special." That evening, Rebecca was cleaning her apartment when she received an unexpected call. "Rebecca, it's Dr. Charles Whitman." Rebecca nearly dropped the phone. It was the lawyer who had tried to steal from Michael. "Dr. Whitman? How did you get my number?" "Through Dr. Jonathan Winters." "Rebecca, can I speak with you?" "I'm listening. I want to apologize for what I did, and I want to thank you." "Thank me?" "Yes, because you saved me from myself." "I don't understand." "Rebecca, when I was arrested, I thought my life was over. But in prison, I had time to reflect on what I'd become." "And what did you realize?" "That I'd completely lost sight of what it means to be a lawyer. I was so obsessed with money that I forgot why I chose law in the first place." "Dr. Whitman, we all make mistakes." "Rebecca, when I got out, no one would hire me. Nobody wanted a lawyer convicted of fraud. I imagine that was hard." "It was. But then I heard about your work, how you were transforming the legal profession. And I thought, if she can forgive and give others a second chance, maybe I deserve one too." "Dr. Whitman, everyone deserves a second chance." "Rebecca, I'm now working as a professional ethics consultant. I help other lawyers avoid the mistakes I made." "That's wonderful. How is it going?" "It's the most rewarding work I've ever done. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm using my profession to do good." "Dr. Charles, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Don't you feel angry at me for ruining your career?" Dr. Charles laughed. "Rebecca, you didn't ruin my career. You saved me. If you hadn't exposed me, I would have stayed on the wrong path until it was too late." "I'm glad to hear that." "Rebecca, may I ask you a favor?" "Of course. If you ever need someone to speak about professional ethics, you can count on me. No one understands the dangers of dishonesty better than someone who's fallen into that trap." "That's a wonderful idea, Dr. Charles. I'll think about it." After the call, Rebecca reflected on how interesting life could be. The man who had once tried to destroy Michael was now dedicating his life to teaching other lawyers about ethics. It's truly never too late to change, she thought. On the 10th anniversary of the trial that changed her life, Rebecca organized a special event. She invited everyone who had been important in her journey: Michael, Victoria, Dr. Jonathan, Dr. William, Dr. Charles, her former volunteer students, and many of the families she had helped. The event took place in the hall of the school where Victoria worked as principal. "Friends," Rebecca said to the 200 people gathered, 10 years ago, I raised my hand in that courthouse and said, 'Wait, I'm a lawyer too.' Laughter and applause filled the room. Back then, I never imagined that moment would change not just my life, but so many others." "Rebecca," Michael interrupted, "you changed all our lives for the better." "Mr. Pearson, you all changed mine too. You taught me that it doesn't matter where we come from or what we do. What matters is how we use our skills to help others." Victoria stood up. "Rebecca, may I say something?" "Of course, Victoria." "Rebecca, you taught me it's never too late to start over, that we can make mistakes but always have the chance to make things right." Dr. Charles also stood. "Rebecca, you showed me that true redemption doesn't come from others' forgiveness, but from the work we do to repair the harm we've caused." One by one, people began sharing how Rebecca had impacted their lives. For 2 hours, heartfelt testimonies filled the room. "Dr. Johnson," said Jason, the young man she'd met in school who was now in his second year of law school, "you taught me that every job has value. My mother is still a cleaner, and I'm so proud of her." Jason, your mother deserves your pride, and you'll be an excellent lawyer. Doctor, I want to work in labor rights, to defend people like my mother. That's wonderful, Jason. By the end of the event, Rebecca was moved. Friends, when I started this work, I thought I was helping others, but I've realized the one who benefited most was me. You've given me a purpose in life I never imagined having. And now, Rebecca, Dr. Jonathan asked, what are your plans for the future? To keep doing what I do, cleaning courtrooms in the morning and helping people in the afternoon. Will you ever stop? Dr. Jonathan, as long as there's injustice in the world, there will always be work to do. And do you plan to do it alone? No, Dr. Jonathan, look around. Rebecca gestured to everyone in the room. I'm not alone. There are hundreds of us working toward the same goal. Michael stepped forward. Rebecca, I have a surprise for you. What is it, Mr. Pearson? The Rebecca Johnson Foundation now has branches in every state in the US, and we've just received our first international request. Canada wants to implement the program there. Rebecca was stunned. Is this real? Completely real. You didn't just create a social project. You started an international movement for social justice. But I'm just a cleaner from New York City. Rebecca, said Dr. Jonathan, you've proven that it doesn't matter who we are or where we come from. Anyone can change the world if they have the courage to try. End of story. Dear listeners, what did you think of this inspiring tale? Rebecca taught us that true greatness doesn't come from titles or positions, but from the courage to do what's right. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel for more transformative stories like this one.